Well, good morning and welcome to the Breakfast News this Friday morning on Rajya Sabha television. I'm Aishwarya Kapoor and I'll bring you all the top stories from India and across the world in the next 30 minutes, starting with the headlines. Parakram Parv showcasing courage, valor and sacrifice of armed forces to begin from today. Three-day event marking second anniversary of surgical strikes to be held in Delhi and 53 locations in 51 cities. Prime Minister to attend Combined Commanders Conference in Jodhpur. Terrorism, single largest threat to peace and stability in South Asia and the world, says External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj at a SAARC meet on sidelines of a UNGA, says environment of peace and security essential for cooperation and progress, calls for dismantling terror support infrastructure at India-Brazil-South Africa trilateral meet. Supreme Court likely to deliver a verdict on pleas challenging the ban on entry of women between 10 and 50 years into Sabrimala temple in Kerala. Apex Court are looking into whether the ban amounts to discrimination and violates women's fundamental rights under the Constitution. Centre sets up an 8-member search committee on Lokpal. Former Supreme Court Judge Justice Ranjana Prakash Desai to head the panel that will include Prasar Bharati Chairperson A. Surya Prakash and former SBI Chief Arundhati Bhattacharya. And India and Bangladesh to clash in the final of the Asia Cup Cricket Tournament, a match to be played at 5 p.m. today in Dubai. Our top story this morning, a 3-day Parakram Parv will be organized from today to mark the second anniversary of the surgical strikes. And the event is to showcase the courage and sacrifice of the armed forces. The main event is planned at India Gate lawns in New Delhi. Similarly, 53 locations in 51 cities across the country will be showcasing the events, highlighting the valor of the Indian Armed Forces in general and Special Forces in particular. Defence Minister Nirmala Sitharaman will visit India Gate lawns today to inaugurate the event and will also interact with the children there. Movies and photographs will be shown at the event. There will also be digital signing boards for sending messages to soldiers. Letters addressed by school children will also be on display. On Saturday and Sunday, visitors will get an opportunity to see captured weapons used by terrorists brought from Jammu and Kashmir. And Prime Minister Modi is also expected to attend the event. The centre is carrying out a mega celebration focused on the second anniversary of surgical strikes, which was conducted by the Indian Army on terrorist launch pads in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir in 2016. And in related news, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will attend the Combined Commanders Conference in Jodhpur. He will also open an army exhibition marking the second anniversary of the surgical strikes across the line of control. The Prime Minister will inaugurate the Parakram Parv exhibition today morning before participating in the conference at the Jodhpur Air Force Station. The conference will also be attended by Defence Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, National Security Advisor Ajit Doval and the 3 services chiefs, besides the several key military and civil officials of the Ministry of Defence. It is for the 3rd time that the Commanders' Conference is being held outside Delhi. This time, a forward air base on western border has been chosen for the conference, owing to the strategic importance and the location of the Jodhpur Air Force Station, which was the headquarters of the Southwest Air Command earlier. On to some other news. 3 terrorists, including Lashkar-e-Toiba commander Asif Malik, were killed on Thursday in anti-terror operations in Kashmir. An army jawan belonging to the 19 Rashtriya Rifles was also martyred in the operations. On a tip-off, security forces launched a search operation in Ghazi-Kund area of Anantnag district on Thursday morning, during which a gunfight began between the security forces and terrorists, in which Lashkar-e-Toiba terrorist Asif Malik was killed. Malik was involved in several attacks on security forces, including the killings of CRPF men at Achabal this year. In another encounter in Budgam district, the security forces killed 2 terrorists belonging to Hizbul Mujahideen. 2 civilians were also killed in separate gun battles between terrorists and security forces. And now news from the ongoing 73rd session of the UNGA in New York. External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj addressed the foreign ministers' meet of SAARC countries, where she ruled that threats that endanger South Asia are on the rise. Now, making an indirect reference to Pakistan, Sushma Swaraj said that terrorism remains the single largest threat to peace and stability in our region, adding that it is necessary that we eliminate the scourge of terrorism in all its forms without any discrimination and end the ecosystem of its support. Sushma Swaraj also called on the member states to bring about trade reforms to strengthen connectivity and capitalize on the region's potential. She further said that India was willing to share the fruits of its economic, scientific and technological progress with the South Asian community. External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj also met the Minister of International Relations of South Africa, Lindiwe Sisulu, and the Foreign Minister of Brazil for the 9th IPSA Trilateral Ministerial Commission meeting. The ministers reviewed IPSA cooperation over the last 1 year and exchanged views on furthering IPSA cooperation. The ministers exchanged views on various issues of global significance, including peace, security, countering terrorism, development cooperation and South-South cooperation. And Sushma Swaraj also attended a BRICS meeting on the sidelines of the United Nations General Assembly on Thursday. BRICS is an association of 5 major emerging national economies: Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa. Minister of Foreign Relations of Brazil, Aloysio Nunes Ferreira, chaired Thursday's meeting. Sushma Swaraj exchanged views with the BRICS ministers on the matters of global, political, economic and security significance. She was also briefed on the preparations for the upcoming BRICS chairmanship of Brazil for 2019. And in her statement, Sushma Swaraj said that while BRICS has taken several impressive strides in the last decade, we still need to consolidate BRICS among the 5 of us further. And also on the sidelines of the UNGA, Sushma Swaraj held bilateral meetings as well. She met with the Foreign Minister of Japan, Taro Kono, and MEA spokesperson Ravish Kumar called it a special strategic and global partnership and said that the 2 leaders took stock of the bilateral relationship and discussed preparations for Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Japan this year. Sushma Swaraj also met with the Syrian Foreign Minister Walid al-Muallim on the sidelines of UNGA. And the Centre on Thursday constituted an 8-member search committee to recommend the chairperson and the members of the Anti-Corruption Ombudsman, Lokpal. The committee will be headed by former Supreme Court Judge Justice Ranjana Prakash Desai, former Chief of State Bank of India Arundhati Bhattacharya, Prasar Bharati Chairperson A. Surya Prakash and former Indian Space Research Organisation Head A.S. Kiran Kumar are the members of this search committee. Besides them, Justice Sakharam Singh Yadav, former Judge of Allahabad High Court, Sabir Hussain Khandawala, former Gujarat Police Chief, Lalit K. Panwar, retired IAS officer of Rajasthan cadre, and Ranjit Kumar are the other members of the panel. And the Model Code of Conduct will come into force immediately in states where legislative assemblies have been dissolved prematurely. This was stated by the Election Commission on Thursday. The panel further said that the caretaker government will also be barred from announcing new schemes. In a letter to the Cabinet Secretary, the poll panel said that the Model Code will apply to the caretaker state government as well as the central government in matters relating to that particular state. The Election Commission said that its directions are in line with the 1994 Supreme Court verdict that says that a caretaker government should merely carry on with the day-to-day governance and it should desist from taking any major policy decisions. The decision assumes significance as the Telangana Assembly was resolved recently before its term ended. Usually, the Model Code of Conduct comes into force the day Election Commission announces polls and is in force till the electoral process is completed. The Reserve Bank of India has eased mandatory cash requirement rules for banks in a bid to provide durable liquidity to the economy. In a statement, the RBI said that the banks could carve out up to 15% of holdings under the statutory liquidity reserves. This will enable them to meet their liquidity coverage ratio requirements as compared to 13% now. Now, this will come into effect from 1st of October. It will also help banks to overcome any possible liquidity constraints. The bank's statutory liquidity ratio is currently at 19.5%. RBI also stands ready to meet the durable liquidity requirements of the system through various available instruments. Citing proactive steps taken in the last few days, RBI said that it conducted open market operation or OMO on 19th of September. It further said that another OMO will be conducted to ensure adequate liquidity in the system. News from the Supreme Court. The Apex Court on Thursday declined to set up a larger bench for a relook of its 1994 Ayodhya verdict, which held that a mosque is not an essential part of the practice of Islam. The judgment paves the way for the Apex Court to hear the politically sensitive main Ayodhya title suit from 29th of October. Here are the details.
The Supreme Court on Thursday declined to review its own 1994 judgment that said mosques are not integral to Islam. It said the case, which is linked to the Ayodhya land dispute, need not be referred to a 5-judge constitution bench. Chief Justice Deepak Mishra and Justice Ashok Bhushan delivered the majority judgment, saying the civil suit has to be decided on the basis of evidence and the previous verdict has no relevance on it. The judgment also said that the context in which the 5 Supreme Court judges delivered the 1994 judgment has to be found. It said all religions and religious places need to be equally respected. The majority judgment also made it clear that the controversial observation in the case is not a guiding principle to decide the Ayodhya land dispute. Justice S. Abdul Nazir disagreed with the 2 judges, saying what constitutes the essential practice of religion needs to be considered in detail by a larger bench. For this, he referred to the recent Supreme Court order on female genital mutilation. He added that a constitution bench must decide what constitutes essential practices of a religion and thereafter Ayodhya land dispute case should be heard.
माननीय सुप्रीम कोर्ट का कहना है कि ये प्योरली टाइटल सूट का मामला है जो एविडेंस पे डिसाइड किया गया है, ये केवल राइट टू प्रैक्टिस पे डिसाइड नहीं किया गया है, इसलिए इस्माइल फारूकी के मामले से इससे कोई लेना देना नहीं है। आज की डेट में इस्माइल फारूकी का केस स्टैंड करता है, उसको सुप्रीम कोर्ट अभी रिव्यू नहीं करेगा। अभी केवल और केवल 3 जज इसकी सुनवाई करेंगे। 29 अक्टूबर से शुरू होगी इसकी सुनवाई। आज की डेट में इस्माइल फारूकी स्टैंड करता है। जो ये कहता है इस्माइल फारूकी केस 5 जजों का जो बेंच का मैटर है कि इस जो मस्जिद है वो इस्लाम का अभिन्न अंग नहीं है, यानी वो जजमेंट आज भी डिजर्व कर रहा है।
The issue of whether a mosque is integral to Islam had cropped up when a 3-judge bench headed by Chief Justice Mishra was hearing a batch of appeals filed against the Allahabad High Court's 2010 verdict, which divided the disputed land in Ayodhya between the Ram Lalla, the Nirmohi Akhada and the Sunni Waqf Board. Following the fresh order, the Supreme Court has now cleared the decks for hearing in the Ayodhya title case. The civil suit on the Ayodhya land dispute would be heard by a newly constituted 3-judge bench on 29th of October, as Chief Justice Deepak Mishra retires on the 2nd of October. Muslim practitioners had alleged that the 1994 verdict, which said that namaz can be offered anywhere and not just at a mosque, would unfairly influence the matter of who the disputed site in Ayodhya belongs to, thus weakening their claim. They had urged that the decades-old verdict must be reviewed before the title suit is decided. On the other hand, Hindu petitioners claimed it was an attempt to delay the hearings in the main Ayodhya case. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And the Supreme Court on a Thursday ruled that adultery is no longer a crime, overturning the 158-year-old anti-adultery law. The Apex Court called the law unconstitutional as it denied the individuality of women. The court said that adultery could only be grounds for divorce.
In a unanimous decision, a 5-judge constitution bench struck down a 158-year-old penal law to state that adultery is not a crime. Pronouncing verdict on petitions challenging the constitutional validity of the Section 497 of Indian Penal Code, the top court quashed the law, calling it archaic and violative of the rights of equality and equal opportunity to women. The apex court also called as unconstitutional the law that it felt denied the individuality of women and treated them as the property of husbands. The 5-judge bench held that adultery could be grounds for divorce, but not a criminal offence.
Done away with both these provisions, namely Section 497 of the Indian Penal Code and Section 198(2) of the Criminal Procedure Code. Hereafter, as the impact of the judgment, nobody in the country can be prosecuted on the ground of adultery.
4 sets of concurring judgments were pronounced to declare penal provision on adultery. Activists welcomed the verdict, stating that archaic law should have been dumped a long time ago to keep pace with the world.
We should have gone long back. In all the countries all over the world, it's gone. Rather, only few Muslim countries have got, but their laws are Shariat, so they are different. And I do welcome it. Where in this law, the women was treated like a property of the husband.
Welcome judgment, because first of all it equalizes the status of men and women, which is under the Article 14 of the Constitution, that both gender equality is established, and I think that is a very huge step forward. So I think it's a super judgment.
The top court reserved its verdict on the matter in August. Previously, the law provided that only a man and not a married woman can be punished for the crime of adultery. The law sees the woman only as a victim and not a abettor in adultery. Raveen Singh Shahran's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
And the top court is likely to pronounce its verdict on a number of pleas challenging the ban of entry of the women between 10 and 50 years of age into the Sabrimala temple in Kerala. A 5-judge constitution bench headed by Chief Justice Deepak Mishra had reserved its judgment on 1st of August after hearing the matter for 8 days. The bench, which also comprised Justices R.F. Nariman, A.M. Khanwilkar, D.Y. Chandrachud and Indu Malhotra, had earlier said that the constitutional scheme prohibiting exclusion has some value in a vibrant democracy. The top court's verdict would deal with the petitions filed by the petitioners, Indian Young Lawyers Association and others. Remember, the Kerala government had on 18th of July told the Supreme Court that it now favoured their entry. The apex court had on 13th of October last year referred the issue to a constitution bench after framing 5 significant questions, including whether the practice of banning entry of women into the temple amounted to discrimination and violated their fundamental rights under the Constitution. On to some other news now. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu inaugurated the second edition of the 4-day Lok Manthan program in Ranchi on Thursday. Vice President Naidu stressed on the need to overcome the colonial mindset while underscoring the need for extensive research and study on the culture of India. This year's theme is Bharat Bodh Jan Gan Man. Earlier, Vice President Naidu also inaugurated an exhibition based on the culture and heritage of Jharkhand.
वो सरकार में जो बैठे उन लोगों का काम है हमारा चरित्र, हमारा इतिहास, हमारा परंपरा, हमारा संस्कृति को सही रूप में लोगों को सामने रखना बहुत जरूरी है। ये दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण है, हमारा आजादी के बाद जो हमने विद्या प्रणाली, शिक्षा प्रणाली में दिया, उसमें हमने भारतीयता को और भारत का प्राचीन परंपराओं के बारे में जितना महत्व देना था उतना महत्व नहीं दे पाया, कारण जो भी हो। उसी कारण से ये स्थिति है। That's why I feel the time has come again. We have to come out of the colonial mindset. Come out of the colonial mindset.
And a prize distribution ceremony was organized by the Rajya Sabha Secretariat as the Hindi Pakhwada ended on Thursday. Rajya Sabha Secretary General Desh Deepak Verma encouraged all the participants. He said that Hindi as a language is essential for developing one's personality. He also emphasized on the need to connect a Hindi language with nationalism. And during the event, he also launched an annual journal. It is the in-house magazine of the Rajya Sabha Secretariat, which is being published for the past 13 years. To promote the use of Hindi, Rajya Sabha Secretariat had organized several competitions during Hindi Pakhwada.
मैं उम्मीद करता हूं कि आप सबने जो ये हिंदी सप्ताह का आयोजन किया है उसको केवल हिंदी के प्रचार प्रसार के साथ ही अपनी राष्ट्रीयता से जोड़ने का, अपने व्यक्तित्व से जोड़ने का, अपनी पहचान बनाने की से जोड़ते हुए उसका विकास करेंगे और अपना विकास करेंगे।
And Tourism Minister KJ Alphonse on Thursday presented the National Tourism Awards at a ceremony held at Vigyan Bhavan in New Delhi. The awards were given in various segments of travel, tourism and hospitality industry. Ahmedabad and Mandu were jointly declared as the best heritage city, while Qutub Minar bagged the top award in the differently able-friendly monument category at the awards. Andhra Pradesh bagged the top prize for promoting state's tourism as a global brand. Kerala came second for comprehensive development of tourism. Rajasthan and Goa shared the third spot. The awards were given in various segments of travel, tourism and hospitality industries, and speaking on the occasion, Alphonse said that the tourism sector has generated 14.62 million jobs in the country in the last 4 years. He added that there was a growth of more than 14% in number of foreign tourist arrivals last year. Alphonse also said that flood-ravaged Kerala is ready to receive tourists since the hotels and tourist sites are now operational.
हमारा ऑब्जेक्टिव इंडिया का फॉरेन टूरिस्ट का अराइवल्स को डबल करना है 3 साल में, और हमारा रेवेन्यू की भी डबल करना है, और 5 साल में हमारा रेवेन्यू पहुंचना है $100 बिलियन। या हम 4 साल में, ये मोदी गवर्नमेंट 4 साल में हम 1,46 लाख नौकरी टूरिज्म सेक्टर में हम बनाया है।
सितंबर 1 से हमारे लगभग तो 90% डेस्टिनेशंस अभी ओपन हो चुके हैं। अब फिलहाल अब तो ऑलमोस्ट 99% हमारे डेस्टिनेशन सारे वापस आ गए हैं। सितंबर 1 से हम पूरे देश के और विदेशों से भी टूरिस्ट हम लेना शुरू कर दिए हैं।
On to some other news now. The first consignment of Indian non-basmati rice is scheduled to be shipped to China today. The Commerce and Industry Ministry said that 100 tons of non-basmati rice will be sent to China from Nagpur. The ministry stated that the consignment will be received by China National Cereals, Oils and Foodstuffs Corporation next week. Now, COFCO is one of China's state-owned food processing holding companies. An agreement to export rice from India to China was signed on 9th of June 2018 in Qingdao in China during Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit there. New Delhi has been pitching for market access for a variety of its goods to China in a move to bridge the widening trade deficit. And the United States is all set to start implementing a new rule from 1st of October that allows deportation of people whose legal status to stay in America has expired. The development will affect all people whose legal status to stay in America has expired for reasons such as a denial of visa extension application or change in status. And under the new rule, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services will issue notices to appear to people whose applications regarding visa extensions or changes in status have been denied. NTA is considered the first step towards deportation of foreign nationals who do not have valid papers for a legal stay in the U.S. It is a document that instructs an individual to appear before an immigration judge. It is reported that there could be as many as 5 lakh undocumented Indians in that country, people who either overstayed their visa or entered U.S. borders illegally. However, in a relief to H-1B visa holders for the time being, this policy will not be implemented with respect to employment-based petitions and humanitarian applications and petitions. All the sporting action now. India will take on Bangladesh in the final of the Asia Cup today. The men in blue are so far unbeaten in the tournament and they will be looking to reassert their continental supremacy with the title. India have won 4 and tied 1 match against Afghanistan out of their total 5 matches in the tournament. India rested most of their first team regulars in the match against Afghanistan, but all of them are expected to return for the final today. KL Rahul could get an opportunity in the playing 11 today after his knock of 60 runs against Afghanistan. While for Bangladesh, batsman Tamim Iqbal is already out with a fractured hand, and all-rounder Shakib Al Hasan is also out of the team due to an injury. Remember, Bangladesh made it to the final after defeating Pakistan by 37 runs in their Super 4 clash. News from the world of badminton now. Ace Indian shuttler Saina Nehwal has entered the quarterfinals of the Korean Open Championship. Saina Nehwal defeated Korea's Kim Ga-eun 21-18, 21-18 in just 37 minutes to make it to the quarterfinals. Saina Nehwal will now face 2017 world champion Nozomi Okuhara of Japan today. She has a 6-3 head-to-head account against her Japanese rival. News from the world of football. India entered the quarterfinals of the AFC Under-16 Championship for the first time in 16 years. The game between India and Indonesia ended on a goalless draw, which was enough to send the Indian side into the quarterfinals. Indonesia had the better of the first half, but they were unable to score any goal as Indian defence kept them at bay. India came close to scoring in the 63rd minute and in the 72nd minute, but failed to convert both the chances into goals. And with the draw, India finished runners-up in the group, and they are now likely to face South Korea in the next stage. India ended their Group C engagements with 5 points from 3 matches. That's it from me and my team in this edition of Breakfast News. Thanks for watching. Have a great day ahead.